Good evening. Good evening. For those of you who are wondering, yes, the doc chat was late for the first time in history, but tonight I am so beyond excited. I am Dr. Michelle Simone Rencher. I am a talk connoisseur. I'm a researcher, but I am also a curious person and I'm a doctoral graduate. Tonight, joining with me is another Dr. Michelle. Dr. Michelle Ned is with me, and she is the owner of Visions Consulting Firm. We're going to talk all about self care. And before we go any further, I'm going to get a sip of my water because tonight has been an interesting night already. Dr. Michelle, can you hear me? Dr. Michelle, can you hear me? Ladies and gentlemen, we are having some technical difficulties behind the scenes, but we are going to stay with the conversation. First of all, I want to let you guys know, did you know that more than 50% of doctoral graduates do not complete their studies? That's not talking about people who don't have the capacity to do the work. Maybe you have funding challenges. Perhaps there's inclement weather where you're residing. Maybe a hurricane or a blizzard impacted your university. No, we're talking about people who, for whatever reason, did not complete the tassel, did not complete the work. And so tonight we are going to talk all things self care. Self care is not just buying new lipstick, self care is not just having beautiful flowers. Self care is a whole lot of things. And tonight at the Doc Chat, we've been graciously given the opportunity one more time to be the special guest host. Before I go any further, I want to say a special thank you to Dr. J.T. Turner, who is the brilliant, esteemed visionary behind the Doc Chat. He is that person who said we need to have a space, a place for doctoral graduates to come into the world and talk about all things that they are experts at. And it also gives us an opportunity to talk about things that are socially conscious, things that are on our minds, things that perhaps in your day to day 9 to 5 world, you don't get a chance to discuss. Tonight is just one of those things. We're going to talk about self care. And if you did not know, self care is important to everyone. So, not just doctoral students or graduate students or even persons who are in university. Self care is a space for just you. And so, if you have tuned in, if you stuck around in this special episode of the Doc Chat, first of all, I want to say a very big thank you for you. And of course, I encourage you to let people know that the Doc Chat is streaming. We are here and we're going to be here for a few more minutes. So if you would, please like, share, follow. Let us know that you are watching us because we are here for the conversation. Dr. Michelle is with us. Dr. Michelle Ned, thank you for coming on back to the conversation for the Doc Chat. Can you let us know, first of all, where in the world are you? Dr. Michelle, we seem to be having some difficulties with our technology this evening. I'm a technology change agent, and so for the most part, my technology skills are pretty much up to par. But tonight, we've got a special host, a special guest, I should say, who is no stranger to the world of self care. Dr. Michelle Ned is with us. Can you, first of all, let us know where you are from? How can people find you? And what exactly is self care?
Okay, I actually reside in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
All
I'm a
right.
native of Lake Charles, Louisiana. And self care to me is pretty much taking the time out for yourself, making sure that all of your needs are met, and also
Absolutely.
being sure to have boundaries. I know a lot of the times we have other people who are pulling at us left and right, but
Mhm.
being sure that we have time for ourselves, and that's very much needed.
That is so true. That is so true. So, again, we are here at the Doc Chat. Most of the persons who watch these shows, who watch these episodes, are either doctoral students, potential doctoral students, or persons who have finished the journey. You are one such person. You have finished the doctoral journey. So, can you first of all tell our audience, what did you even study? How did you get into this space? How did you become Dr. Michelle Ned?
Awesome. After finishing my graduate degree in clinical mental health counseling in 2015 from Southern University A&M College, I decided to work a while within the health and human services industry. I decided that after working with several individuals from various backgrounds, doing a lot of client and case management work, that I wanted to further my education. And I wanted to look at the primary care and behavioral health aspects of care. So I decided to pick Arizona State University to receive my doctoral degree in
Mhm.
integrated behavioral health.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I am not a behavioral health specialist as you are, but a part of my study and examination did examine people. Because we have to, as researchers, you want to get into the minds and the perspectives of others, because otherwise it would just be about ourselves, right? No matter how brilliant we might think we definitely have to always engage with others to do the actual research. So, in your research, what did you actually examine?
I actually examine interventions that help to promote better health and quality health care for individuals who are suffering from mental health disorders that stem from physical issues that they may be concerned. Well, that they may be experiencing, excuse me. And that could be like, let's say, depression and diabetes. That's actually what my study was on. Self care tips on how to improve individuals who have type 2 diabetes and help them through self care with motivational interviewing techniques to kind of get them able to better care for themselves with the disorder as
Okay,
well as depression.
excellent,
And
excellent.
and I actually love what I do. And that's what I take a look at each day. I look at a client, I measure where they are emotionally, mentally, and also physically. And that's how I come up with different interventions that are evidence based to ensure that they are receiving the quality health care that they need.
Okay, now it's interesting that you mention their mental, their emotional, and their physical. Because when you think about self-care, a lot of people think about obviously going to a spa, perhaps taking long walks, like I mentioned a little earlier, drinking your water. People think
Mhm,
about those things that impact your physical. But a lot of
mhm,
times people don't necessarily recognize that self-care also impacts your emotional, it impacts your spiritual. And so we are a trifold perspective of a human being. We all have an
mhm,
emotions, we all have physicals, and we obviously, some people even think about their spiritual perspective. And of course, their cognitive skills are all rolled into this amazing body that we each have. Now, again, because we are here at the Doc Chat, we have to pay homage to the fact that in many cases the tassel was so worth the hassle. Is a phrase that you typically see this time of year coming towards graduation. You may see it on greeting cards, t-shirts. You definitely see it on those helium balloons at graduation ceremonies where
mhm,
people are saying the tassel that you typically wear for your graduation cap, which for graduate studies does not move. And so the fact that it's been fastened to the hat is worth the hassle. But a lot of
mhm,
people may not realize that in graduate studies, whether it's master's degree or doctoral studies, that hassle that you're facing is
mhm,
oftentimes really challenging for many people. I
mhm.
can tell you in my doctoral journey, my hair color changed. I had shoulder
Mhm.
length chocolate brown hair. I had a bob when I began, and by the time I was getting ready to cross the stage and got my hood on, I no longer had a bob, and I had way more gray and white than I had chocolate brown hair. And so
Uh-huh.
many people gained and lost weight. Many persons had a lot of experiences that they encountered during the graduate school process. So can you unpack for us? Can you give us a few ideas or strategies on what you would recommend people consider when they are facing challenges in life, whether it be academic or even professional pursuit? Give us a few ideas on what we should be thinking about when we are facing these challenges.
Okay. First of all, I think you have to figure out what is your mission? What is your actual journey? What is it that you want to accomplish in life? And secondly, you should have goals, goals that you want to obtain, and those goals should not be small goals. I think that a lot of the times we kind of shoot a lot of too small, but realizing that we have the potential to do much better work. So I
I
say
agree.
setting great goals for yourself and
Yeah.
also being sure to have the healthy nutrition, the healthy diets, the healthy physical activities. Those are very important.
Yes,
Also
yes,
having,
absolutely.
mhm. And
That's
I
absolutely
would
true. Yeah.
and I would also say drinking enough water. That's also important. And another thing would be to have a really good support system. I think that's very important too. And
Yes. Now,
also,
mhm.
mhm,
That's so true because you mentioned, sleeping habits, your
mhm,
exercise habits. It's important that you consume nutrients. You must eat good food. You must take your vitamins and the supplements. It's important, as I always say, drink your water, and sometimes you need to mind your business. One of my doctoral sisters from the Bahamas said to me that one of the things that she truly took to heart in her doctoral journey was taking showers. Now,
mhm,
we all take a bath or a shower, or, everybody has their preference. But she
mhm,
wasn't talking about a daily or even twice a day. She talks about multiple times throughout the day taking a shower because we recognize that water is for hydration. Water is also a great source of rejuvenation. And so she recognized in her doctoral journey that by taking extra showers throughout the day, at periods when perhaps she needed to refresh her thinking, she needed to reset, perhaps she needed to also kind of plow through an assignment. We know in doctoral studies, the journey oftentimes requires a lot of revisiting an assignment, maybe a lot of re editing. But she took on the opportunity to take multiple showers. Can you give us any other ideas of things that we should try and do in a repetitive manner to keep ourselves going? And I think we are having technical difficulties again. So I'm going to continue the conversation, not a monologue by any chance, but I want to make certain that our audience is a part of the conversation. We have people who are joining from all over the place and they just kind of popping in to say hi every now and then. And we want to say thank you for taking the time to stick around with us. We had some persons who joined the call earlier in this evening. We know at the doc chat, we are sticklers for time because we know that time is everything when it comes to a live podcast. But we want to make certain that we have our audience joining in the conversation with questions, suggestions, perhaps even comments about self care and how important self care is to you. One of my favorite things to do when I am milling about and having difficulties with just keeping my thoughts where they need to go is, as
mhm,
I mentioned earlier, drinking lots of water. My fellow sister from the Bahamas, she was a big proponent of taking multiple showers. Dr.
mhm.
Michelle is back with us. Can you give us any suggestions on things that you know work for persons who are having repetitive challenges? Are there any things that we should be thinking about to do repetitively, maybe the same time every day or the same time every
Mhm.
week? Or do you have any of those suggestions?
Yes, ma'am. I would say sleep is essential. Having at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night is very important, especially during your doctoral journey. Also, having educational resources that are available to you. That's very important. A lot of students go into the program not knowing the necessary resources that are available for them. So that's important too.
That is
Um,
true because that's very true because a lot of times people don't even know what's at their fingertips. We go in this journey and it's easy to have tunnel vision. That is so true that we should always tap into our community of professors and administrators. If you are not a student currently and you're thinking about doctoral studies, this is the time to tap into the resources around you. You may have had a colleague or a coworker who has finished the journey already, and so tap into
mhm.
that person's expertise by all means. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. And also just having the proper um, wellness, like the spiritual and health wellness. That's very important. Having devotions every morning, prayer is very essential and important. Um, of course, it helped me get along the way through my program. So that's very, very important. And just being able to show up and do your best. I think that's what's most important too. And remember why you actually wanted to go into your doctoral program and exactly what is it that you want to take out of it and learn from it. And I think that's very, very essential.
Absolutely, absolutely. So listen, I will share with you. You mentioned prayer and devotion. I attended Columbia International University. It is a Christian university, and not only do they use the mantle of Christianity to have on a flag or in the school's website, they really do take it to heart. At Columbia International University, it was a requirement, not a suggestion, not a nice to have, but a requirement for every single week in the
Mhm,
entire program to do your own devotion. They would give us a
mhm,
scripture that aligned with the course every single week.
mhm,
So that's a lot of journal writing, a whole lot of scripture reading,
mhm,
a whole lot. And so for students like myself, I work in the technology space. And
mhm,
I've also have a degree in strategy and management. But I am not a strong financier. You do not want me to hold on to your bank book. Okay, I'm not that person. That's not
uh-huh,
not my ministry at all. But at Columbia
right.
International University, I found that I had anxiety when I began to face certain courses. I
Mhm,
had taken a course in statistics in undergraduate. I hadn't taken anything since graduate school that was related to statistics, and research design requires, as you know, statistics. And so I
mhm,
struggled before I even entered that course. But because the university, Columbia International University, had the requirement of a weekly devotional, they
mhm,
would give you maybe a sentence or even a phrase of scripture to focus on, and they required us to write upwards of 200 words what that scripture
mhm,
meant in that moment. And when it came to my beginning the course of statistics for research design, the
mhm.
scripture of that week was Jesus wept. And so I thought, okay, so Jesus wept because I don't like statistics. Okay. Jesus
Mhm,
wept because he knew I was going to get an A in that class. I got a 91 in a course that
mhm,
I didn't even think I was ever going to be good at. And
mhm,
research design is that's my sweet spot. Being able to understand quantitative and qualitative analysis, that is my sweet spot all day long. Whether you're
mhm,
doing a case study or you're doing a phenomenological case study, thank you, a lot of words there, a lot of
mhm,
syllables, but that was my sweet spot because I learned to motivate myself through meditation. I learned
mhm,
to pray about those assignments. I learned to find myself in that scripture to be able to say, this is going to carry me to the next level in my journey
mhm.
academically, my journey professionally, and my entire life journey. And so, because Jesus wept, I got a 91 in that
That is
course because
awesome.
I was able to focus not on the assignments and the rubric, but truly to focus on the journey. Because again, we all like to say the tassel was so worth the hassle, but it
Mhm,
wasn't always a hassle. If we can truly be honest, it wasn't always a hassle.
right.
And so, as you shared also, it's important to know why. Why are you doing this thing? So, we have some people who are talking about just getting acceptance. And so, to be honest, I don't really recall my acceptance letter. I've seen some people post online about when I received the acceptance letter 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what did they feel? I don't really remember my acceptance
Mhm,
letter. I probably have it somewhere. They probably emailed it to me. If I look around, I probably would find it. But I think the most important thing to know, as you shared early, Dr. Michelle, is why are you doing this? If you're doing
mhm,
it just to have yourself called doctor, ma'am, sir, you're in the wrong business. If
mhm,
you are doing this to put yourself on a platform because you want to see your name in bright lights and for whatever reason, I think you have the wrong mission.
mhm.
If you're doing it just to really stress yourself out, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. But
Right.
if you are doing it to challenge yourself, if you are doing it because you want to know, like I wanted to know some things that I couldn't find out by just reading a magazine. I couldn't go to the library and find it out. I couldn't ask anyone because, as we know in doctoral studies, oftentimes you have to write little is known of this topic, or
Mhm.
it is not known of this topic. And it may not be known for a bunch of things. It may be known for one topic. And
Mhm.
you have the opportunity to become the expert in that topic. So, Dr.
Mhm.
Michelle Ned, you've given us some ideas, some strategies so far. What was your reason? What was the real, if you could be honest, just me and you talking, what was the reason that you decided to go back and stay with it?
Okay, awesome. I actually received my master's in clinical mental health counseling, and I wanted to further that education. I wanted to see what was out there besides just the traditional, just clinical mental health. So I was actually searching and I said, hey, I want to do a little bit more. I want to go back to school and get my doctoral degree. Started researching several programs. And there was one program that actually caught my eye. And I said, let me go ahead and apply. I looked at the different programs, and that's how I found the Doctor of Integrated Behavioral Health. And I said, I read up on it a bit. And then I was like, I think that may be where I want to be because I actually want to look at comorbidities that individuals experience, like if they are having depression or anxiety and have a medical issue associated with it. That's important. Like I was actually talking about men's health and how having several disorders as a male could stem from it actually bring on behavioral health disorders because there's so
Wow.
many different and same as women and women's health. But I just wanted to get a general sense and learn several different interventions to carry me throughout my career on how to help individuals who have those comorbidities
Mhm.
and just to create those wonderful modernized interventions to ensure that they have the quality health care and also looking at population health as well, looking at public health as well, and how our whole environment and our whole being affects how we feel each day. So I think that also was a reason why I wanted to go back to school. Um, and I'm using those wonderful skills throughout my career now, and I absolutely love it. I actually just didn't stay within academia. I did academia for about maybe 3.5 years. um, I actually taught at a Christian university as well,
Okay.
undergraduate students, and I said I want to get more into the field. So I started working in leadership, where I started working with child and family services, and I actually enjoyed the work that I was doing as well. So it's not just having a doctoral degree and using it in one area, but being able to use it in several different aspects of life, even having joining different organizations. Like I am also a barber stylist, and
Wow.
I've also found a group that supports mental health and barbering. So just being able to
Excellent.
use my skills to hone in um, on helping other people in that manner. And I absolutely love it. I
That is
really do.
wonderful. That is wonderful. So again, our audience comes from different spaces and different places. There are
Mhm.
students who are currently watching us. There are potential students. There are students who have just gotten accepted, and because they haven't yet enrolled, they're kind of on the cusp, and they're asking, well, what do I need to do to get ready for the journey beyond drinking water? Beyond catching up on some naps right now, prepare your
Mhm.
body. I would also suggest you need to start really in-depth reading.
Mhm.
You will never read enough, and so this is the time of your life that you will probably read the most. And so I would
Right.
suggest, definitely stretching those eye muscles. If you are a person that currently wears glasses, go and get your eyes checked. Make sure that
Mhm.
you have the correct prescription. If you do not currently wear glasses, I would suggest that you definitely go and get your eyes checked and
Mhm.
see whether or not you, like myself, needs readers. I need readers when I am reading fine print or on my
Right.
cell phone. I need readers. But to drive or just to exist, I don't need them. But because
Mhm.
of the intense amount of reading that I did in doctoral studies, late night reading after you leave work, you're reading for sometimes 3 to 4 to 5 hours before you can begin
Definitely.
to before you can even begin to formulate your ideas and write an assignment. Because you really
Mhm.
have to be able to understand what the theories are and understand the perspectives that are currently in the market before you can actually determine which your perspective is and which of those theories is accurate per your perspective. And so, drink your water.
Mhm.
You got to exercise. You have to walk a
Mhm.
little bit every now and then, dance if you need to. You must
Mhm.
find your community and find your tribe. One of the things that I recognize, the month of April is important to me because it is the month that I defended. It is
Mhm.
also the month that I received my hood and my tassel, and I crossed the
Mhm.
stage on April 30th. The very final Saturday of the month is when I crossed the stage. And so for me, the month of April is always very nostalgic, but it's also bittersweet because I realized that there were many persons who I began the doctoral journey with who were a part of my cohort, persons who were answering my posts and my assignments, persons who I would share ideas with. We would have study discussions in the evenings and text each other, hey, have you
Mhm.
seen what's your grade and how are you doing? They didn't finish. There were
Mhm.
many persons of my cohort who did not finish. There is a
Mhm.
statistic that says upwards of 40, almost 45% of doctoral students do not finish.
Mhm.
So we're not talking about they don't have the capacity. Or perhaps they had financial challenges. Maybe there was, you live in Louisiana, perhaps there was some weather, inclement weather that impacted
Mhm.
the university. Perhaps they had health concerns. While we do not know why those students did not complete, we do know that that statistic is growing by the minute.
It is.
Our mission tonight is to make certain that if there is someone out there, somewhere in the world, who is in the midst, beginning, or thinking and considering doctoral studies, it is not for the faint of heart. I
Mhm.
promise you, it is not a cakewalk. People like to tell you that the coursework is easy and the writing is difficult, or
Mhm.
the writing is easy, the coursework is kind of so so. But my challenge was not the coursework. My challenge
Mhm.
was not the research. My
Mhm.
challenge was not the defense. The defense was my sweet spot. I
Mhm.
left no points on the table in my defense.
Mhm.
What I did struggle with was the editing. What I
Mhm.
did struggle with was the comments and the feedback. Because
Mhm.
when you are doing your work, you have a committee, you have professors, you have university professionals whose job it is to assess whether you are ready to wear the colors of the university for the rest of
Mhm.
your life.
Mhm.
And they are not going to allow you to just slip through because you're nice.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is not a popularity plan. You must be ready
Mhm.
to do that rigorous work. And so everybody is different. We're all unique. And so one way for you to get ready is to kind of shake off feelings and emotions.
Mhm.
It's hard, right? Am I right?
Very. You're right.
So how did you get through criticism? How did you handle being critiqued by people who don't really know you? They
I
don't know where
know.
you came from. They don't know what you're trying to do. How did you handle criticism emotionally?
Oh my goodness. As we all know, edits, and some days it can take maybe 1 or 2 days to get them back, and you're looking at deadlines.
And you're biting
But
your
what I
fingernails.
Yes, and what I did was I actually internalized the constructive criticism, and I learned from it. And I
Mm,
looked at what was provided in a very helpful manner.
okay.
And it made me actually think a little bit more to retrieve additional information. And I think that was awesome. I really
Okay.
needed constructive
So
criticism.
you were very, very emotionally mature because
Mhm.
I was not so emotionally mature. Full transparency, I had many, many, many sleepless nights. I cried. I probably
Mhm.
said a few choice words
Mhm.
cuz surely you don't know who I am. How could you not what? Yeah, I definitely had a lot
Mhm.
of talking to the computer screen. I did a lot of that.
Yes.
I walked a lot. Everybody that I
Mhm.
know probably heard every comment that I ever heard.
Mhm.
They know
I
the
under
names of those professors intimately because my husband's
Mhm.
probably saying again, like just let it go, but you can't. And
Mhm.
so I would suggest that you get some thicker skin and
Mhm.
try your best to become, as you say, emotionally mature. Try to recognize that this is positive criticism. It is
Mhm.
it is constructive. It is there to construct the
Mhm.
the the final product. So
That's right.
imagine yourself as a chief architect. Imagine yourself as a mason or a contractor who is hiring an architect, who is hiring some builders, and every
Mhm.
single nail does not land just right. Every single bit
Mhm.
of cement does not land just right. Every now and then um, you have to redo some of those blocks. You're gonna have to paint
Mhm.
those walls a few more times. You need a few more coats. You may need to sleep and come back to that document next week or even next
Mhm.
month. But I think the journey is definitely doable. I do
Right.
believe it's doable. I think if you are called into this kind of work, then you would definitely have a journey ahead of you. Now, I
Mhm.
got to pivot a little bit because all of our viewers are not doctoral students. All of our viewers
Mhm.
are not doctoral graduates. All of our viewers are not even considering even enrolling.
Mhm.
So, as a mental health professional, a behavioral specialist, you have persons in your practice who are not doctoral students. You have
Mhm.
persons in your medical practice who are not thinking about going back to school ever again in life. What do you tell them when they are stressed out, burnt out, or even have no words for what they're feeling?
I actually tell them to take it day by day. And I think it starts with looking at the whole purpose. What is your mission here? And I think that brings people back. I know a lot of the times that we're stressed, but we actually have to look at our work and find the passion that we need to continue on. And that's what I would actually comment to my colleagues about, and that's very important.
Absolutely. That I think is the most important thing. That is powerful because everybody
Mhm.
is facing something. Some people
Mhm.
have loved ones at home who are not well. There are persons
Mhm.
who are in different seasons of life. You may have
Mhm.
aging parents or aging grandparents, aging spouses. You may have financial challenges, right? Because
Mhm.
I mean tariffs and all the things. There's a lot going on right now in the world. But I think
Mhm.
it's so important to recognize that if we take life one day at a time, if we take
Mhm.
assignments one assignment at a time, if we take a walk one step at a time, if we take a glass of water one
Mhm.
sip at a time, what we can actually achieve is success. We can actually finish what we started. We can actually get to the overall mission in life. And if we figure out what is the mission, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this thing? Life is not always about studies. It's not
That's
all about
right.
our careers, but life is life, and this is our journey that we're on. And so if we're gonna get to the end, we might as well go ahead and take it one step at a time. I agree with you on that 110%.
Mhm.
But let me ask you also, so there are persons, doctoral students, doctoral graduates, professionals, there are persons in different seasons of life who are currently watching us right now, and they are gonna want to chime into the conversation. And I'm like, oh, people are calling in and they are coming in and they are saying yes. They hear you.
Mhm.
They're listening and they're watching us and they're wanting to know,
Mhm.
what can two women from different parts of the world who happen to have the same first name bring to a
Mhm.
conversation about self-care? If I were to give you anything that you would want to make you say, ah, I feel, yeah, she knows me, what would I bring to the table or to you that would make you feel as if I know you, I see you, I've known you for a lifetime, which I don't, but what could I give
Mhm.
you? What
I
makes
would
you
say
feel
respect.
special?
Respect.
Okay, that's a lot. That's one word that
Mhm.
means a lot, right?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. It so does. It so does.
Mhm.
Now, I wasn't going to go there, but I have to also ask. So, we're talking about respect. We're talking about our feelings and our emotions. We're talking all things self care. We're talking about the
Mhm.
doctoral journey, yes. But we also have to recognize we are two brown skinned, melanated, beautifully skinned women who happen to have a similar journey in life. And life
Mhm.
isn't easy for everybody. Everybody doesn't have an easy journey.
Mhm.
Sometimes life can just be just that, life. In my doctoral journey, before I was able to cross the stage, I lost 4 family members in 5 days.
Mm.
I could not even begin to imagine what grief means when you are going through that level of experience. Have you
Mhm.
experienced persons experiencing vast amounts of grief in their doctoral journey or just in life? How do you help people understand?
What I do, sometimes you have to take a break. You have to take a break and come back to it. And you have to make sure that your feelings are, you process your feelings and actually what's going on. And take that time to grieve if needed. And then
Mm,
come back to the drawing board because that's very
yes,
important.
yes. And as we see, our audience is telling us it's important to be resilient. Resilience is so
Mhm.
important because, again, as I mentioned, everybody's journey is different. One person
Mhm.
can say, well, I've never had those challenges. I've never lost that many family members. I've never even thought about enrolling in doctoral studies. I finished high
Mhm.
school and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to read anything other than the newspaper. I only want to read subtitles on a movie. Some people that may be enough for them. But those of us
Mhm.
who are passionate about being lifelong learners, we are committed to the journey of discovery, committed to the journey of being explorers, almost like Marco Polo. We wanted to explore the world through books. But
Mhm.
there are others in our community who are not in that space, and that's not their desire or their interests. Can you share strategies that you've given to people who may feel like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing? I may have finished high school, maybe living on my own, working wherever, but I'm not sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Have you had those conversations in your practice?
Yes, I actually was working alongside a teenager that I was actually my last position. And she had no idea what she wanted to do. She was entering her senior year.
Wow.
She wasn't sure if she wanted to go to college. She had some important interests, but she just wasn't quite there yet. So what
Okay.
I did as an activity was I downloaded the occupational handbook and we sat through and went through it together. And I think that that was something
Helpful.
that she enjoyed and she was
Okay.
able to figure out what she wanted to do and how those interests could turn into future positions.
Excellent.
Um, and she enjoyed it and she got a lot out of it. And I was very, very happy that she progressed at that level.
Well, it
Yes,
sounds
ma'am.
as if you introduced her to really being
Mhm.
a researcher of her own of her own self.
Right.
Oftentimes, when we consider research, we're thinking about researching a topic, researching a perspective from persons
Mhm.
who are participants in our studies, without realizing oftentimes one of the best ways for us to get to the next season of life is to research yourself. Figure out what you like, figure out what you dislike, figure out what makes you
Mhm.
smile, figure out what makes your heart sing, figure
Mhm.
out what makes you say, that ain't for me. Some things you
Right.
just like, what, I don't care if you say it tastes good. I think I'm just gonna pass on it. I'm from the
Right.
Bahamas originally, and in the Bahamas, one of the things that we like to eat is cracked conch. We eat conch
Mhm.
in any way, shape, or form. You've been to the Bahamas too, so you
Uh-huh.
understand that it's just a thing. But do you know, I have never tried sushi, have no interest. I just, for some reason in my mind, I don't know what it is. And so
Mhm.
you have been able to gift that opportunity of self exploration to that young lady to help her recognize that life is about being resilient, also about being resourceful. Sometimes life requires us to pivot and to
Mhm.
embrace whatever is happening around us in such a way that we can rise to the top and even thrive beyond
Mhm.
just surviving. So I
Mhm.
work in technology. And my title in technology is that of a change manager. And I am a
Mhm.
technology change agent. There are applications and technology solutions that are constantly moving, constantly being updated, upgraded, constantly in flight. And part of my job is to understand where they are today and how they
Mhm.
can actually incrementally move to where they want to be tomorrow. A
Mhm.
very simple process for many people to understand. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to understand it. But what it really truly is at its heart is that I am nosy. I'm
Mhm.
good old fashioned just nosy. There's no other way to say it. I just like to know stuff. I want to
Mhm.
know who doing what and why and when they doing it and why they're not doing it this way. And that's just the way that I am wired. And so my ability to be self introspective has served me well because when life happens, I've typically been looking down the road days, weeks, months, and sometimes
Mhm.
even years before there is a shift. And
Mhm.
because I've always done that for myself, I've always either A, gone back to school, taken a course, taken a LinkedIn learning assignment, watched a
Mhm.
podcast, listened to a TED talk, listened to a sermon to get a word. I'm always thinking about what's coming next. Can you give us some suggestions or some strategies as we kind of get to the wrapping up hour of our conversation? Can you give our viewers some ideas on what they should be thinking and focusing on for what's next?
I think that learning never stops. That's one thing that I'm going to say. And being able to just look at your current career is not good enough. We have to often venture out to other things. Like I do several things. I write, I joint advocacy groups, I barber, I work with children and families, I work with disability councils. I do several things. And that's one thing that I never stop doing is learning. I'm always looking for
Absolutely.
a professional development opportunity. I'm always looking to read something and read an article a day. Um, Keep myself abreast on what's going on in my industry. And just being sure to watch podcasts and interact and collaborate with other people. And I think that's other like minded people. And I think that's very important and that takes us far. And a final thing that I would like to say is just being kind. Showing yourself friendly is very important because you never know who
Absolutely.
you're going to meet and you
You
never
never
know how
know.
that person is
You
going to
never
help.
know. You never know where you're going to be in this
Mhm.
life. I mean, I have been in
Mhm.
some rooms that if I tell you, your head would spin. I don't know how I
Mhm.
even got in that physical space, but
Mhm.
oftentimes it is by being kind, it is by
Mhm.
being generous. It is
Mhm.
also because I believe, coming from where I come from, you have to be resilient and resourceful.
Mhm.
You have to be interested in learning about yourself and about the
Mhm.
world around you. And it is so, I believe, very important to embrace change. I
Mhm.
live today in Middle Tennessee, but I've lived in a lot of cities around this country. And coming from the Bahamas originally, one of the things that we in the Bahamas like to eat is peas and rice. Not rice and
Mhm.
peas, but Bahamian pigeon peas and rice. It's a difference. Trust me on this
Mhm.
one. But when I moved to Middle Tennessee, I would go to Publix, I would go to other grocery stores, and they had a rice aisle.
Mhm.
Just said rice, just RICE, rice.
Mhm.
Maybe you could find long grain, maybe you could find jasmine. That was kind of it. But
Mhm.
now you can have jasmine, yes, you can find basmati. You can find all these different types of rices in the typical rice aisle. There's an international section that I no longer feel homesick. So
Mhm.
things that I grew up drinking and eating in the Bahamas were are now commonplace in my children's diets.
Mhm.
Something as simple as mango juice, pineapple juice, coconut water. Things that I grew up drinking and eating in the
Mhm.
Bahamas are now commonplace, and it is because the world is changing.
Mhm.
Just the grocery aisles can demonstrate the world is changing. But if
Mhm.
the grocery aisles can change and the fashion boutiques can embrace change, because before the pandemic, you could go into the Macy's or any big box store in the mall and you could find a blazer, right? You could find a
Mhm.
suit. Go look for a suit now.
Uh-huh.
Everybody, everybody wearing loungewear. That you hard pressed to find a silk blouse or a
Mhm.
silk camisole. It was they you hard pressed to find those things, right? And so if fashion is changing, if the grocery stores are changing, so the retail world gets it that the world is changing. So why shouldn't we also embrace change? Right? So by embracing change, by staying resilient and resourceful, staying lifelong learners, as you say, we must also drink our water, mind our
Mhm.
business. We must read, listen to podcasts. We must take one day at a time. We must recognize that the road ahead may not be as bumpy as it looks today
Mhm.
because the road changes. We've all been on the road on the interstate, especially, and the last time that we were on that passion road, they hadn't paved, and
Mhm.
now it's smooth. So the road changes, right? So we must constantly look ahead. Dr. Michelle Neb, we've had an interesting conversation.
Mhm.
But now I wonder, what else do people need to know about you?
I am just a ray of sunshine.
I can see. I
Um,
can
I
see.
I take one day at a time, and I'm really open to learning and meeting new people because like I said earlier, you never know where you could be. And just being kind. And I love it. Look, everywhere I go, if I meet someone, I'm asking them what is their name and what do they do. It's
Yes.
just a perfect opportunity to collaborate and you just never know.
You never know.
And
You never know. And you know what? I love the fact that you bring your energy, your sunshine, beautiful smile. And not only that, you are consistent in the conversation because you've said it's important for us to believe that the best will come. It's important for us to trust the process. It is important to stay resilient and resourceful, drink our water, sleep, take our vitamins, get a cute haircut every now and then because we got a
uh-huh.
resident barber in the house. But
Uh-huh.
if we are doctoral students, if we are graduate students, if we are simply students of life,
Mhm.
it is imperative for us to recognize that the best is yet to come and to
Mhm.
stick around, be like me, be nosy enough to want
Mhm.
to know what's going to happen. So even if the podcast starts a little late, you start
Mhm.
half an hour late and people still coming into the conversation, it's because they trust the process. We started
Right.
late, but we still have persons who are still with us. And I say thank you to Dr. J.T. Turner, the visionary behind the Doc Chat. He was the person that recognized that there is a space in this world of ours for doctoral graduates to come together to talk about doctoral studies, the journey, of course, to understand that the world recognizes that sometimes people don't care that we like to read. People may not
Mhm.
care that we happen to be brilliant in our own skin. We are brilliant,
Mhm.
but he recognized that there was a need for persons to recognize to know how important it is to take the mantle by the hands, take the horse
Mhm.
by the reins, and say, I'm going to do this thing that maybe nobody else in your family has ever even thought of, and you've finished it. You did it. You didn't just
Mhm.
attempt. You successfully conquered all the literature, all the theory, all the moving parts. I mean, defended until nothing was left on the table. You also wore the hat, wore the tassel, put the hood over your shoulders, crossed the stage, and then decided to pivot. And then changed your mind about some things. You went back to got some barbering skills and kept smiling through the process. I have
Mhm.
also changed my career more times than I care to even share.
Mhm.
But the most important thing is that I have been resourceful and resilient. I have been here for the conversation. I believe in generously sharing my journey because if I can help someone along the way to not make half of the mistakes and the missteps that I have made in my life's journey, then why not share it with them? It's important for us to remember that as people, we are always learning and we have a lot to get from other conversations. Dr.
Mhm.
Michelle Ned, I so appreciate your generosity tonight. Thank you for giving us strategies. Thank you for giving us wisdom. Thank you for sharing with us the importance of being resourceful and resilient, and for letting us know that self care is doable, even if it simply means drinking water.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just need to continue doing it one step at a time, that even if life knocks us down, we must continue to get up, that even if the assignments that life has given us, whether they are in a rubric or whether they happen to be in life's journey, that we must continue to walk each assignment out day by day, step by step, moment by moment, because we will get to the other side. I love the fact that we have persons still adding to our conversation. They are still telling us that they are here. And most of all, it lets us know that we are getting close to the hour. We say thank you once again to the Doc Chat for giving us an opportunity to speak, to share, to most of all encourage, inspire, and to our fearless leader, Dr. J.C. Turner, who is in the house. Thank you, sir, for letting us know that our voices matter, for letting us know that
Mhm.
we have so much to give to the conversation and that there's more to come. So, for those of us who are still watching the episode right now, this is the season finale. We've got a few more seconds to join our conversation, but this is the season finale. If you've missed any of this episode, rewind it back and start from the beginning. And above all else, watch all of the episodes in the entire, literally the entire catalog of episodes is brilliance, complete
Mhm.
brilliance. It gives us opportunities to speak, to shine, to show what we are all about, and above all else, recognize that this thing that we call life is
Mhm.
not for the faint of heart. Doctoral studies is not for the faint of heart, but it's doable. And the
Mhm.
fact that you've got two people, two women who are called Dr. Michelle from different parts of the planet. We have each have in front of our names. Our journeys are very different. But guess
Mhm.
what? We are here for the conversation. You can find us both on LinkedIn. I encourage you to reach out, have a conversation, get some encouragement for your journey, and most of all, recognize that whatever you are planning for yourself is doable. Because
Mhm.
we did it first, you could do it too. Thank you so very much. I am Dr. Michelle Simone Renter. I'm a technology change agent. I'm a connoisseur of all things doc, and above all else, I am your guest host on this episode of the Doc Chat. Coming up in the next season, you never know who's going to be the guest host. I'm going to speak it into existence, but
Mhm.
you never know what's going to happen. Once again, from the Doc Chat, thank you for being with us. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of the season. Please rewind us back and let us know exactly what's going to happen. Take care of yourselves. Drink your water. Mind your business. Take your time with your vitamins. Get some sleep. Keep reading. Keep learning. And keep living. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.